All right, welcome to the Armored Hoops podcast. This is episode 53. This is very awkward. I don't have a co-guest with me. That part is not good. It's awkward the fact that I know what episode it is episode 53, but again, for the second week in a row, I did not do my research ahead of time in determining who wears the number. Any famous athletes or all-time greats or even current day players. I don't think any current day NBA players wear the number 51. No, sorry, not 50. Wear the number 53. So again, I came unprepared, and that's on me. I'll take full blame for that. So that's unfortunate. So already off to a rocky start. Shows that I'm definitely better with the co-host, but that's okay. Anyways, part of the reason I'm sure that I'm thrown off is because as you know, we were recording on a Tuesday, which I used to do. Actually, Tuesday was my regular show. Tuesdays at 6, more specifically, it's 5:30 now. But however, since then I've moved to Thursdays at 8 o'clock, which I definitely prefer that time. Thursdays at 8 is definitely the time that I prefer. With that being said, it's obviously Thanksgiving week, and obviously I'm not going to record on Thanksgiving. I'm going to be spending time with my family and hoping to make the best of the holiday there. Thanksgiving is my second favorite holiday after Christmas, and as much as I love to record a podcast to make the day even better, I'm going to give my full focus to the family that day. So luckily, was able to do it earlier in the week. Figure I'd go back to regular to the good old days to do my old Tuesday time slots. Part of Tuesday's on top because it's obviously going to run over 6 o'clock. So I figure that's a good alternative. So I'm very happy with that. Also, before we get into this week's episode, I'm going to announce that next week I will not be here at 8 o'clock. However, the Armored Hoops podcast will still be playing. It will be hosted by my younger brother, Matt Driscoll. And I also believe, if you're a regular watcher of the show, you know who he is. He's very, very active. And also hoping that our older brother, John Driscoll, can join as well. So Matt is hoping that he can open the phone lines to where he's going to open the line so people can call him and see and see what they say. I'm very interested to see how that goes. Maybe that's something we can turn into a regular thing. But who knows? But regardless, I'll be at an alumni event from college. So it's the first episode that I won't be in, that I won't be on for at least the full episode. Hoping I can tune into the end of the episode, but can't promise that. But very excited to see what Matt can do as a full-time host for one episode at least. But anyway, we got an awesome show ahead of us. It's only been a couple. It's probably about like a little over a month into the season now. So we're very excited with how things are going. Got a couple things to talk about. So first, we're going to be talking about the standings, obviously. Just what's going on in the East, what's going on in the West, which teams have been surprising me, which teams do we do? I keep saying we because I'm usually with someone else, but however, by myself. So which teams I think could make a run, eventually, like change things up. I'm not going to talk about too much about the NBA Cup today because I've done the past couple weeks. Figuring not much has changed. And right after that, I'll be actually going through my current day NBA All-Star picks. The ballots haven't opened yet. But like I'm saying, if today was the last day to cast your vote for an NBA All-Star game, this is who I would vote for, which is what I usually do anyway. I usually wait till like the very last minute to cast my votes because I feel like it tells more of the story. I feel like if you submit your ballot right away, like a week or two earlier, so much happens in a week or two, to where like a team gets better, the player helps his team win a lot more. So I kind of wish that the window was like smaller, but that's okay. So I'll be giving my picks for that, and then right after that, I'm figured since it's buzzword. We'll be giving my top 10 things that I am most grateful for in couple things that are going to make the guys eye roll, make the girls ball, but very excited for that. Okay, so with that being said, let's get right into the show. So as I mentioned, the NBA season is about a month in, and there are some things surprising, some things not so surprising with how they are going currently in the NBA standings. So we'll talk about the Eastern Conference first. So the Cavs are at the top of the East. They are currently 16-1. They had their first loss last week against the Celtics. And I was expecting the Cavs to be a little bit better than Vegas. I think I had them winning like a game or two more than Vegas said. I was not expecting them to be this good. There's one loss, 16 wins. That's absolutely insane. Their one loss being against the reigning champs, the Celtics. So if you're a Cavs fan, there's literally you're happy season's going right now, no matter what. They've been filthy this year. Donovan Mitchell, not even playing his best basketball. But that being said, Darius Garland is having a bounce back season. He was kind of disappointing. He was very disappointing last year, especially after the jaw injury. And the Twin Towers and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen has been filthy defensively. I've always thought that Jared Allen was a very underrated defender, and he's been he's been proving that again this year. I feel like he's getting more of his flowers more often this year, but still very underrated in my opinion. And then Evan Mobley is just turning into the superstar that we expect him to be. He's one of the best defenders of the league. I think you could debate that he's top 5. I would say other than AD, Wemby, Gobert, maybe Draymond and Bam, but I think you could easily put Mobley ahead of one of those guys. I know a lot of people are going to say Gobert, even though I still think the Gobert is even this year. But Mobley's 100% top 10, if not very nearing the top 5. I know some people are already ready to put him in like the top 3, but I'm going to need to see a little more consistency from him for like a longer stretch of time, because the other 5 guys that I just mentioned, besides maybe Wemby, haven't been on that same have been doing for a little bit longer. So that's how I usually do my rankings. I need to see you do it for a little bit longer before I jump you ahead of some of the veterans. So but awesome stuff we've seen from the Cavs. Ty Jerome, by the way, I'm going to talk about this when I go into my All-Stars. Ty Jerome has like one of the best advanced stats metrics ever. Like if we're talking like PER, box plus minus, and he's doing this while playing 18 minutes a night. So it's very funny to see, because usually I'm going to dive into this later. Like usually when I dive into my All-Star rankings, I'm very advanced stats heavy, but I couldn't do that because I can't justify having Ty Jerome as like an All-Star. But he's been fantastic for the Cavs this year. And beginning of the year, I said it was the Celtics 1, hands down. Then I said it was a combo of the Knicks, the Bucks, and I don't even know. As much as I love the Cavs, I didn't see them. I didn't see them being a top 3 seed, but they've been absolutely awesome this year. But yeah, I'll actually go into that next team now. I'll talk about the Bucks a little bit. So the Bucks haven't been obviously they were big disappointment to start the year. What are they, 7 and 8 now, I believe, or is it 8? Sorry, 8 and 9. They've won their last 4. So obviously they started the season 4-9, and they're on a roll right now, and they're playing the Miami Heat tonight, who's the ones they are currently half a game ahead of the Bucks. So that's a very interesting game, the 5 and the 6 seed. I for one still that they match up as good with the Celtics as any other team besides the Cavs, probably. Obviously, Giannis is always going to be a problem for them, especially with Horford aging and everything. Horford's a great. I don't want to call it a kryptonite just because Giannis still puts up the numbers against him. But just the weird matchup with Giannis as like the long guy, and then obviously Dame is obviously we have like wing defenders, or not wing defenders. We have point of effect defenders between White and Holiday to guard Dame. But then it's just like the weird fits. I still think the Celtics. I don't think I'm very, 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 very confident the Celtics would beat the Bucks in a playoff series in 5 games. I could even see them sweeping, but that being fought series, the Bucks wouldn't just roll over completely if they played the Celtics. Whether or not that happens is a different story. But like I do think the Bucks are climbing up now, and I think that there is a world where they can climb up to like 3 seed, maybe pushing it. But that being said, they are currently 3 games behind the Mavericks as the 3 seed, and 2 behind the Knicks as the 4 seed. So people have been trashing the Bucks all year long, which justifiably so. They're under 500. They have the second best player in the league. But I do think that eventually they're gonna I think things are turning around for them eventually, and I think that Chris Middleton is going to make a big difference for them because their depth is their biggest problem now, and just adding another piece. Chris Middleton, who's going to be their 3rd best player, is going to be huge for them. And he's a veteran. He has championship experience, and absolutely someone that I can see helping the team that's on this year. I just know for a fact that my friends are going to rip me for saying that there's like, the Bucks can beat the Celtics. No, I don't think the Bucks can beat the Celtics, but I do think it would be a hard-fought series. After that, the Magic have been super impressive. As much as after Paolo Banchero getting injured after 4 or 5 games, I think it was, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5. I think it was 5. Franz Wagner has been an amazing leader. They've been having an awesome defense. And if you're a Magic fan, you're hyped to see this because um I'm not gonna hop on the train that says like, oh, the Magic are better without Paolo because that's so far from the truth. But however, the Magic were a deep team last year. Like it wasn't Paolo carrying them, like a lot of people were saying. But that being said, it's a very very cool thing to see the Magic young team progressing without Paolo, and I think adding Paolo to this mix is going to be huge for them. Um, After that, not much else to talk about. The Knicks have been a little disappointing, but they had a great win last night against the Nuggets. Jokic played awful, but still, OG with 40 points, Cat with 30, Jalen Brunson with 17. So, very like I don't really believe in the Knicks a ton. I think that they're second round exits. I think their ceiling is conference finals. I think they lose in the first or second round, probably the second round, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost in the first round, honestly, especially if they match up with either the Bucks or the Heat, who are far from automatic outs in the first round. Even though both of them, even though the Bucks have lost in the past 2 years in the first round, but not everyone's been healthy and everything. And the Heat are obviously just never going to be an easy first round out if Jimmy Butler is healthy. Which I know we trashed Jimmy Butler a ton on the show, but he's an NBA and he's come up big in big moments. So don't be surprised if you see the Heat, which I'll dive into my Heat segment right now. With the Heat started off 5-7. Now they've just won 2 in a row, so 7-7. Butler had a huge game last Sunday, I believe it was, and like I said, big game against the Bucks tonight. So it's gonna be a test for both teams. I think it's gonna be hard fought. If regardless of what happens, obviously another loss for each of these teams is gonna be really tough because they've lost enough games, and just continuing to do so is gonna be tougher. I personally think the Bucks have more to lose because they had high expectations going into the year, and also they already have more losses. So if they lose, it's no big deal because no one really has high expectations for them. Even though, based on the way that people rank Jimmy Butler, you would think that they would have very high expectations, but clearly not. But it will be a fun matchup to watch. Even if both those teams aren't as great as they used to be. That's really most of the teams I wanted to talk about for the East. Shout out to my Detroit Pistons. They're even though 8-11, that's much better than last year. Definitely have a ton of trust in Cade Cunningham. I think that he's going to continue to develop to be an awesome player. After that, I'm not going to talk about the Sixers too much because I feel like anytime I do, I always end up tearing them apart. I will say I do feel like I'm gonna say I do feel bad for Joel Embiid at this point. He's clearly not someone who's fully healthy. I know I was talking to my co-teacher today, and he was saying that like he believes, like he heard someone say that he really thinks that this Embiid injury is like going to be Lonzo Ball-esque. I don't know if it's that severe, given that Lonzo literally couldn't play for 2 seasons, but I don't know if, but like in the sense that like Lonzo tried to fight through it, which I think is what Embiid like was trying to do. And I tweeted this out the other day. Embiid should not be playing until he's fully healthy at this point. He keeps on going out there and keeps on like not looking like himself. I think that he should be resting up completely. He's not playing tomorrow apparently now. And I really, really think that at the end of the day, as much as bad as luck as people might see it is, the guy isn't healthy, and we see it visibly when he plays. And as much as it stings, they should really sit him down and just reevaluate him for next year. Can't really. I don't know how much you could like. I'm not saying they should trade him because they already gave him that extension. And even though I think it's very unlikely that your team would win a championship with Embiid, when you have a talent like Embiid, he is someone that gives you a shot at the very least. Let's read this alert from Shams really quick because I love breaking news in the show. Let's see. Free agent forward Jay Crowder is close to a deal with the Sacramento Kings, sources tell ESPN. At 8 to 10 and dealing with some injuries. At 8 and 10 and dealing with some injuries, the Kings are working to add a front court depth with the 13-year veteran who has made 2 finals appearances since 2020. That's right. He was on the Suns and which team was on it? He was on the Heat in 2020 and the Bucks. No, not the Bucks. The Suns in 2021. So yeah, very cool to think about. Shout out Jay Crowder, former Celtic. Where was I? With Embiid, it's just kind of really tough to move on from. It's gonna be I wouldn't move on from him personally, but that being said, when you have a player like Embiid and he's like fully healthy come playoff time, he is a player that should be able to win you a championship. That being said, both his injuries and his just style play, it is tough to get for a guy like him to win a championship. And if I didn't have any type of if I was a risk taker and I just didn't really care at all, I would trade him. It's like one of those things where you don't know how much you could get back at this point. The guy's very expensive and very injured. So maybe hold on to him for one more year, roll the dice whole year, and he just gives you every single thing, regardless of what happens in the playoffs. Because you know that when he's healthy, he's gonna produce, but like he's gonna produce in the regular season at the very least, and put up probably some good playoff performances, whether it be early in the second round or just for the full first round. Trade him. I would say trade him when he's at his peak. I would say he was at his highest value, I guess, after he won MVP in 2023. His talent value was probably beginning of 2024, when he was like averaging 34, 36 points per game. But yeah, that was when his value was highest. But then he tore his meniscus, and it hasn't gotten better since. He had a great first round against the Knicks, but let's be honest, he's still he put up the great numbers and he did play great, but like at the end of the day, it wasn't all that. Yeah, Embiid supporters will say like, oh, he played awesome. It was just his teammates. He played awesome, but it's just one of those things where like, okay, it was in the first round, and it also felt like the Sixers really never had a shot in that series. So kind of felt like they were playing. It was like one of those like, there's nothing more fearing than the guy who has nothing to lose. The Sixers had nothing to lose in that series. No one really had some people expected them to win, but at the end of the day, they were the 7th seed, and not much was going well for them this year. So I kind of take Embiid's great first round playoff series with a grain of salt, given the fact that it was the first round and that they didn't have much expectations in the first place. So it was cool to see him play that great, that when he was clearly hurt. But I don't really value that playoff performance a ton. I said I won't dive into the Sixers. Meanwhile, I just spent like close to a minute and a half, maybe more, honestly, just like completely diving into the Sixers. Which I will say, like I do feel like I was nice about Embiid, but we'll see what happens from here. After that, I think we're good with all the other teams from the East. So now we will go to the West, because none of these other teams in the East really interest me. Okay, hang on. Never mind. The Charlotte Hornets. Shout out to Matt Driscoll, because he mentioned this point about Charles Lee today. Charles Lee was crucified for benching LaMelo Ball towards the end of one of the games. However, LaMelo Ball has been playing some of his best basketball since. So shout out Charles Lee. He is a great coach, and I think he's going to be one of the best coaches in the league in very short time. We'll go at West now, which is clearly much better. And by the way, it just feels weird. The West has always been a lot better, but like I feel like people on social media talk about it a ton. And by wins and losses, yes. I don't believe in most of these teams in the West, honestly. They might be winning more games in the East, but I don't believe in most of these teams. The Thunder, I believe in 100%. They've been awesome, even without Chet. SGA's been awesome. He hasn't been playing as great as last year, but still awesome. J-Dub is phenomenal. One of the best players in the league at this point. By one of the best players, I don't mean top 10, but approaching top 20, definitely top 25. If there's one team I'm afraid of the West, it's the Thunder, and the first seeded Thunder, without a doubt. They've been awesome this year, and they're only going to get better with Chet. I think the combination of Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be awesome. After that, the Warriors are the second seed, 1 game behind the Thunder. I feel like I talk about this to the Warriors a lot lately. They've lost 2 in a row right now. I didn't realize they lost 2 in a row, so that'll be interesting to see. Buddy Hield hasn't been playing great lately, so which is kind of typical with Buddy Hield. Like he'll go on like a couple game streaks where he's playing awesome, and then he'll just kind of fall apart. And yeah, Matt McCann, friend of the pod, he's been on multiple times and comments on it regularly. He hates Buddy Hield, and he says that as well. So Buddy Hield's a great player, one of the best, a phenomenal 3-point shooter. Not that great though. Not a player to want on my team. Draymond's been awesome, playing some of the best defense in the league. So very cool thing to see. I don't even know if I brought him up when I brought up the best defender in the league. Who did I bring up? I brought up Gobert, I brought up Wemby, I brought up AD, I brought up Bam. Was he my 5th? I don't even know. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, but Draymond's been awesome. Steph's been very, very good. And I think that if Steph and Draymond are playing great basketball, then I do think that the Warriors do have a shot at like being a relevant team. And the fact that they have solid pieces around them now, Kuminga, is good. Like Kuminga, Pods, those guys, yeah. after that, is kind of where it gets tough because so you get the Rockets that are half a game behind the Warriors, the Lakers who are 1 game behind, the Lakers and the Grizzlies who are 1 game behind the Rockets, so the 4 and the 5 seed. The Clippers are half a game behind the Grizzlies. The Suns are half a game behind the Clippers. So are the Nuggets and so are the Mavs. So, and then the Spurs are the 10 seed, 4 games behind. The Wolves 4.5. The Kings 5.5. So between the 4 and the 12 seed is 3 games. So which tends to happen when there's not many games played yet. Most of these teams haven't even gotten to 20 games. I would say all of them actually. So it's tough to determine like some of these now. Like it's tough to have too many big takeaways. But that being said, I do think it's going to be a dogfight out west for the most parts. I think most of these teams will fall apart. I don't want to say most of these teams. I shouldn't be crazy that. I feel like some of these teams are going to have to fall apart. I think one of those teams will be the Clippers unless Kawhi comes back healthy, which is looking more and more unlikely since we haven't really gotten many alerts from him. But the Clippers are currently 11-8. They started off pretty hot. What are they? Are they 6-4 in their last 10? Yeah, I just don't see them maintaining that. Some of that, even though their pick doesn't even go to them this year, so like that's why they're gonna. It's not like they're gonna try to lose. I do think they're gonna do their best to win most of their games. Because yeah, obviously you don't want to lose your games and not even get your picks. You got to at least try to remain relevant. So that's why they're gonna probably try to get Kawhi to come back. But if not, that's not gonna happen. The Suns are an interesting team to me. They just lost 5 in a row, so they started 9-2, now 9-7. KD and Bradley Beal are coming back tonight. Very excited for that. I think KD was playing at like an MVP-esque level before getting injured, so I'm very looking forward to watching him come back to form because he was. And I was listening to Kenny Beecham's podcast, and he was saying that like KD was like, I don't know if it was Kenny or if it was the other guy he had on the show. I think his name is Matt or Mike. He thinks that KD was again the running for Clutch Player of the Year, and which I saw him hit a couple clutch shots earlier in the season. So I don't know how great KD. I'm sure KD will be fine when he comes back. I think he'll be pretty much close to form. And if the Suns continue this, I can definitely see them being a top 3 seed in the East. I'm sorry, in the West. Currently 2.5 games behind the Warriors for the 2 seed, 3.5 for the 1st seed. They just need to continue to be a little more consistent. So I can see that happening, but we will see. After that, the Nuggets. What are the Nuggets? So again 6-4. I'm kind of torn on the Nuggets. I can see them being a top 4 seed, given obviously Jokic and Jamal Murray has had a history of coming up big in big games, but he just hasn't been all that great this year. Their bench is still not as great. They did have a win without Jokic recently, with Jamal Murray playing great. They're just a little too inconsistent though. Like most of these teams that like aren't consistent, like unless like your entire team is together, which the Nuggets core for it is still together. But that being said, usually tend to not be as good. So that's why I'm kind of struggling to believe that there'll be anything but like a borderline playing team. Like I think probably like falling between 5 and 9 at this point, but I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting, but who knows? The Rockets and the Grizzlies. I'm kind of hard to evaluate, given that both of them are young and both of them have great coaches, in my opinion. But I don't know what to think about either of those teams. I hope the Grizzlies are better. Marcus Smart hasn't been playing a ton. He's been out for a couple weeks now at this point, I think. I haven't really watched the Grizzlies lately. So that'd be interesting. And I guess the Mavericks, currently the 9 seed. Luka's been out a little bit about him. Kyrie's been awesome. I'll talk about him later. But I don't know what to think about the Mavericks because like they have a ceiling to go pretty far in the playoffs, but I still think they're first round exit. Najee Marshall's been great as well, but overall they're just not as good a team as people were expecting them to be. They're about as good as I expected. They're then again 9 seed now, 10-8. And I think that'll continue. Like unless both Luka and Kyrie continue to play awesome, Derek Lively develops into being better than who he is now. Lively's going to need to be a lot better in defense. He's going to need to be like essentially like an all-star level defender in order for them to be to be like a great team, and I just don't think it's going to happen. And again, lastly, I'll talk about the Wolves. They're currently 8-8. They lost 2 in a row. They lost to the Celtics on Sunday. Anthony Edwards is still playing very good, but they're not really that exciting, honestly. They were talking about it on Pick a Side the other day, where Joel Moran was saying how essentially like they made the cat trade to like clear the books and then try to. This was almost like a gap year, which feels kind of silly after their most successful season since Garnett's. You can even debate most successful season period because this was like a better overall team. But that being said, the team like keeping Cat on the books would have been financially irresponsible because the chances of them winning a championship with that core wasn't too high. So giving up Cat for another all-star player and another solid bench piece was a good idea at the time. And I still think it will be a good idea. But I don't know what their ceiling is now. I think their ceiling probably is conference finals again. What are they? So 11 seed now. They are currently 2 games behind the Lakers as the 4th seed. So yeah, I can see them making the conference finals, but who knows? So I think that'll do for the standings as of now. I just kind of gave like a rapid fire for how I feel about each team. But yeah, that's how I feel about each team. But now we'll talk about my all-star selections for each team. Now, usually I'm not one I'm like a big accolades guy. Like don't get me wrong, like I like talking about actual basketball more, but like I do enjoy talking about accolades and like debating on which players deserve recognition because I do believe it's like a fun thing to do. Some people kind of cringe at the idea of constantly talking about accolades. I think it's kind of fun. But yeah, do it. Yeah. And take that as you will. I think it's fun to talk about accolades, especially when it comes to early in the season, like see how it fluctuates. But for the All-Star game is going to be differently formatted. Like, it's still going to be the same thing to where, it's to where like you're picking 12 players in the East, 12 players in the West. But that being said, it's obviously just going to be different this year with the overall format of the game. It's going to be tournament style. And again, like they were talking about this on numbers of the board, with Kenny Beecham, Huey, Mike, and D Mills. It's really sad how it's gotten to this point. Like, why are we having to constantly modify the All-Star game formats to get the players to care? Obviously, it was pretty cool the first year they did the All-Star draft. That was a great game with like LeBron and Steph being the captains. That was a fun game to watch. After that, not really many people got excited about it. The year that Kobe tragically passed away, they turned it into I don't know what that's called, but essentially it's to X amount of points at the end of the game wins. That was cool, though, again, the first year because the game was really close. By the way, screw Nick Nurse for messing up Kemba Walker's knees for the rest of his career, by the way. Still bitter about that. I'm kidding. Not really, though. So that was cool the first year. Then the games were blowouts the couple years after that. And the league just doesn't care about it anymore. And I mentioned last week with Kevin. Obama just made the points on the Young Men in 3 podcast. Guys know how to play basketball without getting injured. It's not like it's a complete concern about them getting injured. They play over the offseason, and it's not like they're playing as hard as they would in like a regular game. So it is kind of frustrating how they constantly are making these modifications to change the game. But that's just, and it's really annoying in my opinion. I digress, though. What was I thinking? What's the next thing about? So I think now we're actually just going to like the actual team. So it's good. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's gonna be the same thing as far as it goes for picking each player. Each time I get a notification from a Mets guy, I have to look too. So it's Anthony DeComo from MLB Network saying he's talking about the Mets and Juan Soto. So hoping Juan Soto ends up signing with the Mets. I don't know if that's going to happen though. Slowly starting to lose hope, but we'll see. That's okay. So anyway, the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference is going to be the same thing. 12 on each team, 2 starting guards, 3 starting front courts, 2 more starting guards, 3 more starting front court, and then 2 more players who could play any position after that. So I started at East, so I'll start talking the guards in the East. So the East is a lot weaker in guards than in years past. It's gotten weaker every year, because they had Harden and Kyrie one year. They had Bradley Beal, who was the leading scorer. They had Kemba Walker for a little bit. He wasn't really great, but he's still like a fun player to pick up. Who else started for those couple years? DeMar DeRozan, great player. But yeah, they've just gotten worse and worse. It feels like every year, especially with the guards playing kind of underachieving this year. So yeah, it's tough to determine that. As I mentioned, Ty Jerome was like a leader in like a lot of the advanced stats, but I can't justify starting him at all. Even though the Cavs are great, he's not one of the 4 or 5 best players on this team, so it's tough to do that. But anyway, like the first like pretty much lock that I had as a starting guard was LaMelo Ball. Third in scoring in the entire league. Having definitely one of his best seasons so far. If he stays healthy, he's I think the Hornets are going to eventually start winning more games. And Charles Lee has been a huge help for him, and I definitely think that if he stays healthy, I think the Charles Lee is going to be huge for them, and I could definitely see the Hornets making the play-in tournament at the very least, and then maybe even making the playoffs. And not giving any of the teams in the first round a hard time, but definitely just getting that experience is going to be very nice for them. So LaMelo Ball, very easy first pick for my guard. After that, it's tough to pick another guard because none of these guys are really deserving, if I'm being brutally honest. I did go with Donovan Mitchell, though, because, as I mentioned, none of these guards are really that impressive. So I just essentially went with, okay, so if we're going to do anything, let's go with the best player on the best team. I did say that Darius Garland was the best player in the Cavs for a little bit, but that being said, I feel like after last week, Mitchell has proven he's still that guy. He's still the best player on the team. Neither of them are the MVP like I had them for the past couple of weeks now, but if they go on another big win streak, like if they end up 30-1, I might have to revisit that conversation about either Mitchell, Garland, Allen, or Mobley being the MVP. But we'll cross that imaginary bridge, if we ever get to it. So yeah, Donovan Mitchell would be my second guy. I still think that Donovan Mitchell is a top 15 player in the league. And whether you can be the number 1 on championship is a different story. But that being said, if there was a chance for him to win a ring as the best player would be this year with like 2 of the best defenders in the league, a great playmaker, and not great depth, but like definitely much better depth. And if they trade like another piece or 2 for even more depth, I think the Cavs have a shot to win the finals. So those are my 2 starting guards, LaMelo Ball and Donovan Mitchell. After that, we'll go to the front courts. So I have this was hands down the easiest 3 guys to pick. And if you were to ask me in August if it would be who would my 3 front court guys be, I would say easily it's going to be Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid. Tatum and Giannis we got right. And keep in mind I did say Tatum's name first because Tatum has been Giannis might be better statistically the past couple games, but Tatum's been more consistent. He's been the best player again on the second best team. He's improved his game a ton. Still elite defensively. So is Giannis, but Tatum has improved his playmaking a ton. And I think Tatum has been the best player in the East this year. But Giannis would be my number 2, despite the Bucks underachieving. He's been awesome this year. Still think a top 2-3 player in the league. And then my third guy was Karl-Anthony Towns, best player in the Knicks this year, hands down. And people were wondering how he'd adjust to New York. He's been their best player, not even close. As great as Jalen Brunson is, Cat has been their best player. So starting 5 would be LaMelo Ball, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Karl-Anthony Towns. Obviously, there would be a couple things switched around, but those would be my 5 starters. Now we're going to the second group of guys. So the front court, the second group of guys. So my first 2 guards, I'm going to keep it simple. I did go with Jalen Brunson. He has been as great this year, but that being said, I still believe I think he's like he's definitely top 20 in scoring, probably even higher, honestly. And yeah, if we're talking about advanced stats, he's not really high up there. But that being said, he still would make the cut at the very least as like one of the last guys to make as like one of the last guys fillers. But yeah, so he would 100% be there. But I would have him as my first guard off the bench. My second guard off the bench would be Darius Garland. Again, advanced numbers aren't there a ton, but he's been the second best player on the best team in the league on a team that's 16-1. So, and a big jump from last year. Very happy from what I've seen from Garland. So my second 2 guards are now Jalen Brunson and Darius Garland. Now, front courts, I said the first one was very easy. This one got a little bit harder. The first front court guy that I went with was Franz Wagner. Again, the Magic have been awesome this year. Paulo went down with injury. People wondering what are they going to do now. They're just going to keep on winning games, and Franz Wagner has been a huge reason for that. He had a couple of great defensive plays a couple days ago on Luka, and he's just had a couple of awesome games. So shout out Franz Wagner. After that, I went with Jalen Brown. Now Brown hasn't been as great this year. Has been like a little tough from three. Hasn't been as efficient. That being said, his playmaking has gotten better, and he's still elite defensively. So even though like the advanced numbers aren't there for him, he's still very clearly one of the best front courts guys in the East, and I still think a top 15 player in the league. Then for my last front court guy, such a very hard pick. I did go with Evan Mobley though. I mentioned how great of a defender he is. You could have gone Jared Allen ahead of him, but I did go with Evan Mobley because he's been at the beginning of the year. You could debate he was the best player in the Cavs, but he's still a phenomenal defender and been like the main reason for how elite the Cavs defense has been. So give me Franz Wagner, Jaylen Brown, and Evan Mobley as my top three front court guys off my bench. Then for wild card, two more guys. Really tough one to go with here. I did, however, go with Jimmy Butler because the Heat are the 5 seed. I do believe that if your team is in the playoffs, you should have at least one guy, or like solidly in the playoffs, like a top 5, 6 seed. You should have at least one guy there. So I did go with Jimmy Butler. He has been the best player on the team this year. Tyler Herro has been awesome too. So has Bam has been as great, but still it's still Jimmy Butler's team, and I do believe that he's that he should be the guy to do one of the wild cards there. And then for my third wild card, I did go with Derek White. No, sorry, not third. My second wild card, I did go with Derek White. So, is him all you want? He's been one of the most productive players in the league this year, and absolutely should be someone who should at least get considered for the All-Star game. So for the East, my starters for LaMelo Ball, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Karl-Anthony Towns. And for the bench, I have Jalen Brunson, Darius Garland, Franz Wagner, Jaylen Brown, Evan Mobley, Jimmy Butler, and Derek White. Honorable mentions go to Jared Allen, Nikola Vucevic, Ty Jerome, and Josh Hart. Again, those are like advanced numbers. I'm sure there are other names you could think of. You think of Tyler here as well. But those the East was really weak. It was like pulling teeth to get some of these guys in, but that's why I was kind of happy that I was able to get Derek White in because there really hasn't been many other great alternatives. But now we will go out west. This was a much harder one to go with cutting guys for how great they've been, but here we go. So the one lock for West guards, I did go with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Again, best player on the best team in the West. Not as great as he was last year, but still been phenomenal. One of the best drivers and playmakers in the league, and someone he's a lock to start for the All-Star game. And then the second guard is kind of tough, but I did go with Steph Curry because although he hasn't been as he's been better than last year, but like he has been like Steph Curry, but he's still been the best player on the best team, even though they were 3-0 without him. They've still been absolutely awesome. Still been absolutely awesome. So I'm very, very, very happy to see how he's been. After that, we'll go front courts. So yeah, I got distracted there. We got a message. So I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Steph Curry as my two guards. For front courts, this one was kind of easy again. Did go with obviously the MVP Nikola Jokic. Missed a couple games due to personal reasons and played pretty bad last night, but still been hands down the best player in the league. That's who he is. He's most likely going to win his 4th MVP in 5 years if he keeps this up. So shout out Nikola Jokic. For pick number 2, I did go with front court number 2. I'd go with Anthony Davis. Lakers have been slipping for recently, but still one of the best teams in the West record-wise, and he's been the best player in the team. I think this is finally the year. People have been putting AD ahead of LeBron recently, but I think this is the year that it's consensus. AD is the best player in the Lakers, which is a pretty cool thing to see that LeBron is finally passing up the torch to AD. That being said, LeBron is still not aging. He even though he's been great, even though he hasn't been as good as AD, he's still been playing close to LeBron James. So LeBron James would have 100% be my third starter. He's been absolutely awesome this year, putting up multiple triple doubles. Like I think it was 3 or 4 games in a row that he did that. So yeah, he's got to be there. Shout out LeBron James. Then so my starters, I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. Which LeBron's going to get that start anyway, because of votes and everything. So as long as LeBron's playing like at like an all-star level, he's gonna get enough votes to get into the all-star game. For the West bench, first I will be going with the first guard that I'm going to go with is De'Aaron Fox. Fox has been phenomenal. he had that 60-point game one night. I think he had 109 points in 2 nights. So yeah, there was 49 points the night after that. And despite the Kings not being as great this year, they've had a couple of disappointing losses. And then for the second guard, I kind of like tossed around with this one for a little bit, but I went with Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie's been awesome this year. He's been a main reason for why the Mavericks have still been doing pretty well without Luka. So he had a disappointing finals last year, but he turned it around big time this year. So shout out to Kyrie Irving because he's been absolutely awesome this year. Then for the West front, so De'Aaron Fox and Kyrie Irving, by the way, I think those are two of the most fun players in the league to watch, like when they're hot, especially because both of them are really fast. They're both great drivers. They both can shoot the ball. Fox is a better defender, but both of them are very, very fun players to watch. Now for the West front courts. The first one I did go with Jalen Williams, aka J-Dub. Again, the Thunder have been awesome this year, and J-Dub. I know some people have been saying like you can debate that J-Dub has been better than Jay this year. I don't think you can debate that, but however, it goes to show you how great that J-Dub is. The fact that people are even bringing it up. So he's a great, one of the best, and has been developed his jump shot pretty solidly. So very happy from what I've seen from J-Dub this year. After that, I did go with Victor Wembanyama. He's really developing himself. He obviously maybe shooting the ball a little too much, but he's still been defending at an elite level. So shout out to Wemby there. And then for my last front court guy, I had a hard time swallowing this pill because for some of these, if like when in doubt, I just went with name recognition and with like winning. With that being said, like I do feel like we should go by the numbers for the most parts, and that's especially if like those guys have proven to be all-star caliber in the past. So I did go with Domantas Sabonis. Feels a little weird to have both Sabonis and Fox in the All-Star game when they've been playing early this year, but they're 500 now, so I'm sure things will change a little bit. But for now, I would pick Domantas Sabonis as my last bench, like as my last like top 10 guy for the West. So 3 front court, I got J-Dub, Victor Wembanyama, and Domantas Sabonis. Wild card is where we get a little tough. For the first guy, I did go with Luka Doncic. At the end of the day, he's still putting up fire numbers. And even though he's been relatively disappointing, especially on the defensive end this year. Still one of the best players in the league. And the fact that he's still putting up elite numbers, I'm sure it's updated since, but like he was averaging like close to 28, 7, and 7. If anyone else is putting up those numbers, it wouldn't be considered a disappointing season. So I hate on Luka a ton, but you gotta give him credit where credit is due. He's still putting up awesome numbers. He just hasn't been as great. But my last wildcard guy, this one was tough, but I did go with Alperen Şengün, which is interesting because he's playing the 4th most minutes per game for the Rockets, but he's been easily the most productive in my opinion. And the Rockets are in the playoffs as of now, so they got to have at least one All-Star, and Şengün would be my easy pick. I know that Terry Eason was is above in like a lot of the advanced stats, but I don't really care. Unless you're like an elite player and you've proven to be, like, I don't really care about your advanced stats a ton. I need to see a little bit more from you. So for my full roster, I got starting 5. I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. And my bench, I got De'Aaron Fox, Kyrie Irving, Jalen Williams, Victor Wembanyama, Domantas Sabonis, Luka Doncic, and Alperen Şengün. Holy moly, a lot of non-Americans at the end of that list. And for my honorable mentions, I got Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. So pretty wild. That's pretty big names there that would be missing towards the end. Obviously, Durant would be for injury concerns. But I'm sure that they'd give Ant or Booker the edge over Şengün, regardless of record. But those would be my picks as of now. But I'm sure they will change in a month, which is when it's a month or 2 months actually when battles are closed. So yeah, I figured this would just be a fun activity for now. But those would be my picks as of today. Now we got 15 minutes left. Yeah, I'm probably not going to take up the last 15 minutes for the last show, but figured since it's Thanksgiving, 2 days before Thanksgiving, I'd go through a segment for the things that I'm most thankful for in sports specifically. Obviously, there are things that I'm thankful for in general. Like I'm thankful for my family, friends, all those things. Above and beyond, I'm thankful for the people in my life, my parents, my students, my colleagues, my job. There are a ton of things that I'm thankful for outside of sports, but you don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about the things that I'm thankful for within my sports. So within sports, so there are a ton of things that I'm thankful for. I kind of put this list quickly together. I'm sure that not many people were commenting today because like a lot of people are getting home from work. But if you're watching this episode, definitely leave a comment down below of other things that you're thankful for. Yeah, kind of wish we had more people on so we can comment exactly what we're thankful for. It'd also be nice if John and Matt were here, but that's okay. Speaking of John and Matt, number 10 on this list, I got Family Sports Bond as what I'm thankful for. This should be higher on this list, but however, as I mentioned that as I mentioned, I know that you guys want to hear other things. So Family Sports Bond, obviously, my entire family, most of my family are big Mets fans. So that's so like whenever it's like springtime or summertime and we're watching a big game. Oh, Jack LaSalle, my man, big time thankful for you. But like, yeah, we'll get into that in a second. Family Sports Bond, obviously, watching a Mets game together, the building the bonds of watching the Celtics win the title, just sitting there watching the family, building a family bond through art sports. That's one of the things I'm thankful for. Thing number 9, NFL Sundays. Just the fact that in the fall, every Sunday we could just I could just sit with my friends, maybe crack a couple beers depending on the day, depending on how long a week it's been. Always something that I'm thankful for. The fact that every Sunday, this year's been a little bit different. I've been a little busy this year. But it's there are certain things that I'm thankful for. The NFL Sundays is definitely towards the top of the list. Now we're definitely going to get into some more specifics about things I'm thankful for regarding the sports. So number 8, I do have the New York Mets, more specifically the 2024 NLCS run New York Mets. This was hands down one of my favorite. I think this was my favorite team to watch for the Mets, and that includes the 2015 Mets that made the World Series. But this team was just so much fun to watch. I had a ton of fun watching them from August all the way until the NLCS run. They just fought. Right when I would say like my lowest confidence piece in them was probably like the weekend, like that Saturday night we actually had our fantasy drafts, and a bunch of us watching the Mets game that Saturday night before like the Mets played the Braves on that Monday. That Saturday night is when I was at an all-time low, and then they just fought through it. David Peterson threw a complete game, and then and then obviously Francisco Lindor with that home run on the bottom of top of the 9th against the Braves. Just fight. Just watching that 2024 Mets team, that's one of the things I'm most thankful for. Number 7, I got the OG Big Three. By the OG Big Three, I mean KG, Pearson, Allen. They only won the Celtics one championship in 2008, but they had some awesome years after that. And one of my favorite teams to like watch film on ever. Not really much. I was in 3rd grade. I think was that my first ring that I watched? It was my second favorite because the Giants won my second. Were second. So OG Big Three. After that, number 6, I got David Wright. If I'm being straight, David Wright is probably my favorite athlete of all time. It breaks my heart to this day that he never won a championship, but still, one of the biggest what if stories of all time. One of the more underrated what if stories of all time. What if he didn't dive into third base during that one play? Oof, it kills me. He was one of the best players in the league, and in my opinion, a top 3 Mets all time. And I think that's one. I'm hoping that one day he's going to contribute to a championship, whether it be in the front office or in coaching. But he seems to be at peace in retirement now, so we'll see. Number 6, this is going to be my one football specific one. I got Eli Manning. Eli Manning is one of the greatest giant of all time, one of the most clutch quarterbacks of all time. Some people say, I know that who was? I think it was what's his name? John Gruden. I think John Gruden came up with I think it was John Gruden came up with like a formula for like the most clutch quarterbacks of all time. It was Eli Manning that came up as one both times. I'm almost positive it was John Gruden, but maybe it was Joe Montana that did that. It was like one of those big names that did that. But Eli Manning, one of the most clutch Super Bowl champ, and he was like a blindfold for how dysfunctional the Giants could be sometimes, because it has been brutal since Eli left. But shout out to Eli Manning. Number 5, Steve Cohen brought the New York Mets, and he's brought me a ton of more happiness with the Mets since for like my first 25 years. Sorry, what was it? I'm doing math here in my head. I think he bought the Mets in 2020, so like the past 5 years. Yeah, so he brought me more happiness in probably 5 years than the Wilpons in 20. Despite that 2015 great, but 100-win season in 2022, and then a deep NLCS run in 2024. So very, very cool stuff from Steve Cohen. I'm very thankful for him. Number 3, Brad Stevens. I'm gonna do mix of them. I'm gonna do Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge because I give Brad Stevens more credit for this team. Obviously, right now he's the one that made the trades for how great this have turned the Celtics into how great they are. Danny Ainge drafted Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. He signed out Horford, which I know he eventually left, and the Brad Stevens had to trade back for him. But Horford it wouldn't have been a thing. He wouldn't have been on the table had the Celtics had the Celtics never signed Horford in the first place. And then obviously Ainge the one that drafted Marcus Smart, who at the end up getting Kristaps Porzingis back for. So shout out to both Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge for building the Celtics right they are right now. Speaking of the Celtics right they are right now, at number 2 I have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. JB and JT, best duo in the league in my opinion right now. They've been together since 2018, which was Jaylen's sophomore year, Tatum's first year. So not really much. Yeah, like there's no. You can put Tatum Brown into a lot of words, but you can also put them in no words as well. Like I said, best duo in the league in my opinion. They won a championship together at this point. They've been to 5 conference finals. Hang on, so it's 2018, 2020, 2022, 2023, 2024. So it was a 5. Yeah, 5 conference finals. So 5 conference finals together, and hoping that this is just the very beginning of more than one championship, because it's been one hell of a ride to watch JT and JB play, and they both of them got their payday, so it's gonna be a little bit tougher to win some of these championships now. This year is probably the best year for them to repeat. They definitely have a shot in the years after this, but like this year is another year for them to try their best, because it's gonna be tough to build the team more once Tatum has to get paid in addition to Brown. But yeah, super thankful for the Jays and everything that they've done for the Celtics. And the thing I'm most thankful for in regards to sports is this podcast. And more specifically, everything that I built in this podcast, the platform that I've grown, the fact that, the fact that I still have a ton of people tuning into this podcast after getting picked up by Sportsfluence. Thankful for this network as well. It's an awesome network led by Tone, led by Chilltown as well. Some awesome other networks, everything about the show I'm just extremely thankful for, it feels kind of weird to be doing this alone, because usually I have someone with me, but I'm happy that I was able to go through this entire list by myself, just to read it out. But I'm hoping that whoever's watching this, know that I'm thankful for whatever you bring to the show, whether you've been on the show before, whether you just watch it every week, whether you just watched it once or twice. You're part of the reason why I keep going. And I've used that again anyway. But still, like, you're the one that keep me going as a whole. So I'm forever grateful that I created this brand, more specifically this show. But definitely one of the things I'm most thankful for. I wasn't expecting to get this sappy, but that's okay. So yeah, those are the 10 most things. 10. I'm sure there's other things. So, like I said, leave a comment down below of what's. Probably didn't get creative enough for some of these. But if you want to get more creative for these, please let me know. Definitely want to get. Definitely want to get some comments. That's one thing. Like, people comment throughout the show. I like to get some comments after the show as well. So, hoping that I can get more of that. But yeah, for the most part, that is the that's where we're gonna sign up for the end of the show today. But with that being said, as I said, next week. So obviously we don't have a show this Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. Thanks for spend time with your families. Eat a lot of food, watch some football, play football. I don't know if your family does that. My family certainly doesn't do that. And hey, if there's someone in your life that you're thankful for, tell them. You never know how long they're going to be there for. You never know what they feel it's. And for all that you know, they're going to they might not know, and they might need to hear it. I'm sure there's some people that don't want to hear it, but that's okay. So just have a great holiday. Thanksgiving, as I said, is my second favorite holiday, and I'm very much looking forward to spending time with my family. I'm going to miss doing the Thursday podcast though, but that's okay. But I'm going to miss it again the week after that, because I'll be at an alumni event at TCNJ. Shout out to TCNJ Lions. But however, the show will still be going on. Matt will be hosting in addition, and we're hoping that John will be there as well. I gave Matt all the instructions already, or I will be giving him the instructions right after the show. I'm actually going to be recording this last part of the segments for how the show ends. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's gonna run an awesome show. He's definitely he's like an unofficial host, and he's been awesome. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing him lead the show. So yeah, he'll be leading the show. He might be opening up the phone lines. But yeah, we're very much looking forward to that. I'm gonna miss it, so I will be back. I think it's December. Let me pull up the calendar real quick. December. So yeah, November 12th for the back to the episode. So that would be episode 55. And I will make sure that Matt mentions who was number 53 for next week's episode. But I'm pulling up the phone now to show Matt how the end of the episode works. But this has been another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. I'm going to pull up the I didn't even pull up the banner for today. Here we go. Yeah, so make sure to follow All American Hooper on all social media platforms. Subscribe to @SportsFluent on YouTube to catch every episode at 8 o'clock on Thursdays. So just follow follow @SportsFluent on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Also take a look at my columns on primetimesportstalk.com. All these episodes are also uploaded to their website as well. But until then, I'll close out like Showtime. I do it sometimes. I'll do it again today. Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. And hey, man, call your mother. And I hope that you all have a great holiday and have a great night. Take care, everyone.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
No, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.